Welcome to the Poetry Fix on Radio Free Hillsdale 101.7 FM. I'm your host, Erika Kyba, bringing you your weekly fix of poetry from across time. Today we're reading The Dream of the Rood, an Old English poem that personifies the cross of Christ, imagining the cross not as an instrument of torture, but as Christ's noble partner in battle. The rood, or cross, speaks to the poet in a vision, and the poet is given a very privileged duty to relate what he has seen and heard. We learn that this vision came to him in the middle of the night, when speech-bearers slept in their rest. It's not just that every other person is asleep. The poet draws attention to the human as speech-bearer. Part of what defines our being as humans is our ability to communicate in a very complex way with one another. The poet sees that this ability to speak comes with a duty. It makes us the bearers of speech, like someone could be the cupbearer in a royal court, or the bearer of gifts to a foreign king. The poet himself is favored from among his fellow speech-bearers to have this poetic vision. But you have to understand that this vision is not just a privilege. It confers a duty for the poet to tell the rest of us about the dream. So what does the poet actually see in this vision? He opens by describing a wondrous tree which is surrounded by light. He conceals the fact that he's talking about a cross, a Roman torture device, until 9 lines in. Instead of leading us by using a word associated with death, the poet leads with tree, which makes us think of life. He continues to reframe the cross as he imagines it covered in gold and jewels, and gazed upon by angels. We don't usually think of the cross itself in such glorious terms. There's a temptation to focus only on the bleakness of the cross, to see it as one of the perpetrators of Christ's death, because, of course, the cross is partially responsible for Christ dying, not in intent, but in effect. But what if that's the wrong way of looking at it? What if the cross, like Christ, is the victim of human cruelty? A beautiful tree that was ripped out of the ground, that was wounded just as Christ was when the Romans drove nails through Jesus' wrists and feet. And what if Christ and his cross were not merely the victims of this cruelty, but also heroes that courageously went into the battle against evil as partners in arms, both of them meriting glory? That's what the poet asks us to imagine throughout the poem, as he will eventually grant the cross a voice and the opportunity to tell its story. In this excerpt, though, we will stay with the poet's visual experience as he perceives the dual nature of the cross, the tragedy and the glory that it radiates. With all that said, let's dive in. The Dream of the Rood, translated by Roy M. Liuzza. Listen, I will speak of the sweetest dream, what came to me in the middle of the night, when speech-bearers slept in their rest. It seemed that I saw a most wondrous tree raised on high, wound round with light, the brightest of beams. All that beacon was covered in gold. Gems stood fair at the earth's corners, and there were 5 up on the crossbeam. All the angels of the Lord looked on, fair through all eternity. That was no felon's gallows, but holy spirits beheld him there, men over the earth and all this glorious creation. Wondrous was the victory tree, and I was stained by sins, wounded with guilt. I saw the tree of glory honored in garments, shining with joys, bedecked with gold. Gems had covered worthily the Creator's tree. And yet, beneath that gold, I began to see an ancient wretched struggle, when it first began to bleed on the right side. You've been listening to The Poetry Fix with Erika Kyba. If you enjoyed this episode, consider following The Poetry Fix on Spotify, YouTube, or Apple Podcasts. And if you have any poems you want to see in a future episode, email your suggestions to thepoetryfix@gmail.com. Join me next week, and we'll be continuing our journey through The Dream of the Rood.